Welcome to Squirrel Trails. I'm David.
And I'm Al.
Today, we're going to talk about getting fired for going fishing.
But I thought fishing was always better than a day at work.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So Al, what kind of articles do you have today?
Hey, this week I'm doing something a bit different.
Okay.
I found a really fascinating article on Krebs on Security. Krebs on Security by Brian Krebs is a great site if you're like monitoring what's going on with security events, in particular credit card fraud and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But in this case, it's not a security blooper, but we're still going to have fun with it because it asks a fascinating question.
And what question did they ask?
Okay, now that you've done your Porky Pig. And yes, he's been up for several hours. Anyway, so in this case, they asked the question, if somebody fails security testing, specifically phishing, many, many times, should you just fire them because they're too big a security risk?
So they are getting fired for phishing?
Yes, because you're only supposed to fish on your own time, not supposed to fish during the day at the office, because otherwise, what do you do with all the water and fish?
Why are we trying to fish at work anyways?
Yeah, a good day at fishing is better than a bad day fishing is better than a good day at work any day, according to the signs I read.
Well, yeah, true. Okay. So fishing. Okay, so we're talking about. We're not talking about water fish.
We're not talking about water fish. That's just Al's really bad humor. So sorry.
I'm trying to help.
Yeah, it's an educational problem. He goes bad sideways too. It's genetic.
Genetics. So we're talking about email phishing, which isn't phishing on the boat or emailing people on the boat.
No, it is not emailing people on a boat. It's not even emailing people on a wharf.
Okay.
It's essentially an attack where you are drawing a line in front of in front of a target.
Okay.
By sending an email to them.
Sure.
So that's really the reason it's called phishing.
Okay.
It's actually phishing with a PH as well as opposed to an F, because that's how we do things in security.
But you know my spelling.
Yes. And well, in this case, David may have come up with the term. But anyway, so in this case, what happens is a bad guy sends an email to you, or to your employees, or to your friends or neighbors, whatever it is.
Yep.
Sends an email. And it either has malware on it or it has a link to malware if you click a button. So email phishing is a really valuable attack used for been used for the last several years and is highly effective, still is going to be effective for a while.
Yeah, we were looking at, we were doing some testing of our own before shooting the video. And even after people learning what it is, it's still people aren't getting it.
Oh yeah, I mean phishing, any kind of attack, but in particular phishing really goes to that natural human tendency to say, when you're told to do something, you're going to do it, or you're going to click on something that finds out what's there, what we call happy clickers, that click without even thinking about it. Phishing plays right into that natural human tendency, and it is there are some great tools out there. We looked at one today. We're going to be looking at a set of them in a future video, going through and actually showing you how to build your own phishing campaign if you want to test your employees or, in all honesty, even your friends and neighbors. So,
well, we did talk about that, and getting authorization to email your friends a phishing scam is...
Yeah, that would actually be considered spam, and it'd be a bad thing.
So, but we'll talk more about the legalities and how to do so and how to do it properly.
Spoil sport.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're the spoil sport.
I know it, but in this case, I like to play.
You wouldn't let me play earlier.
That is true.
So he's trying, but
no, don't send that email out.
So, anyways, okay. So back on track. That's a future video, and maybe a link up here eventually down the road.
Right. So we got to talk to some folks about that. But let's go back to, so Brian Krebs essentially asked the question, and he asked it to a set of professionals in security to say, if somebody is a repeat offender, So they're failing phishing test. So if you go all the way back here a little bit, give you some background, is if you're in a large company or even a small company these days or a smaller company, your employer may be sending you phishing emails to test you.
Okay.
And you get one of these a quarter or once a year, and it's part of a security awareness training. And it sends, and it goes to you, and then it asks you to do something. When you do that, you press on the button that clicks it or something. It sends you to a website that says you've been bad.
So we're going to put an image here to show you what one may look like.
So and it's based off of a free service that we've looked at. So as moving along, the challenge with that is obviously there are some people that just, be honest, never learn. And each time they represent a particular type of security threat. And so the question is, should I get rid of that security threat in my environment just like I should some operating system that has a lot of weaknesses? It's a vulnerability. Yep. What should I do about that vulnerability? The only difference here is it's human. And the interesting part is the human is the most dangerous part of your security environment.
That's in any security environment. Is always the most dangerous.
Yeah, because we're essentially, well, I'll just look at
not
David.
Reliable. Well, great. Okay.
So looking at David, I would say as an example, because humans like to play, they're in a hurry, they have all their own reasons for doing something, or in some cases just not any reason at all, they just do it. So David's a wonderful example of that, especially as he was growing up. But that's a part of security awareness. So what do you do to get through this? So now that I've rambled all over the place. Coming back to the point, you really need to think about what you're doing. And ultimately where the article goes, and I think is really the perfect question is, why are you doing phishing testing?
Oh. That is a really good question.
So anytime you're doing anything, you should be asking yourself why you do this. And that's particularly true with any training activity.
Wouldn't you ask the question before you start doing the testing?
Yeah, there's a novel thought. Somebody would actually think about why I want to do security testing.
I mean, or
security training.
One, you got someone like me would just do it because it's fun.
Yes.
But the
can't say that I haven't been there.
Yeah. Okay. But normally, a company would go, okay, we have a problem with people opening up emails, so let's start this process.
Well, in point of fact,
instead of hey, this looks cool, we're going to implement it, spend $1,000s to buy the product and put it together.
Do you want me to tell you about my examples of where this has actually occurred that way? Let's just try this and see what happens?
Yeah, no, we got to keep this under an hour.
Okay, yeah, because I got too many examples there. Well, really, any part of security awareness comes down to why do I drive that process?
Yep.
And for many companies, the reason they're doing it is because it's they're trying to get out of a legal jam.
Sure.
They're trying to say,
or prevent a legal jam.
Yeah, you're right. Prevent a legal jam. Is that they have to have trained their employees so that the employee can say, hey, it wasn't my fault you didn't train me. Or it meets a regulatory requirement. So you're in a heavily regulated field, or you do work for other companies, and they all say, you need to have a security awareness training.
So we talk a lot.
Tell me about it.
We email a lot. I remember a story about, probably a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if this was based on a similar story or if it's just we've had a conversation.
Could have been something we were talking about as we went to work. Interesting enough, we don't work together,
no,
but we spend a fair amount of time to and from work talking about this stuff. It's scary.
Just because we can in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah. So, or maybe it was something I heard on the news. I doubt that. But
he's going someplace with this, I know.
Yeah. So, someone got fired for this.
Oh yeah, we actually talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So someone actually got fired because they were.
It was on a video even.
Yeah. See? Look at that.
So in a prior video, we talked about somebody in, I think it was England,
yep,
that got themselves fired because they responded to a phishing email.
Yes. Yes.
And she then sued the company for a bunch of money to get her job back and all sorts of things. And the basic reason that she sued was, you didn't train me
Sure.
to make sure that I didn't do this.
So yeah, so exactly. So I mean, do you remember how that case turned out? I don't think.
I don't remember how it turned out
yeah,
right
I don't
now.
think we ever. I don't, think
I don't think
the
we
article
could.
went there.
I don't think the article went there, except, boy, this seems like this is a silly conversation. But
It was.
and
But-
this is now why David will never be an attorney, because an attorney knows never ask a question if you don't know the answer. So he asked me a question. He had no clue that I didn't know the answer.
Well, I like to ask questions.
So, all right.
That's why I like security.
It's all about asking embarrassing questions.
It's like checking doorknobs. You do the same thing.
That's true.
You ask a question: is that door unlocked?
I actually
Without knowing the answer.
I just turn the door down most of the time.
But it's a question.
Yeah, it's a question. All right.
So you're asking without knowing the answer.
Nonverbal question. I got it.
Yes.
That's also why I look at hinges. So, people that I've worked for will tell you that's very true. Anyway, wow, have we wanted?
So
Not sure this is going to be any good at all, but
this is gonna be pretty fun for me to edit.
yes. I'm hoping he edits it. Okay,
For the
so
last video, yeah, we'll see what happens. So anyway, this is people are already getting fired because of this.
yeah, it has happened. This is occurring. I know one major company that if you fail X number of phishing tests, you are let go or moved to a less secure space.
Okay.
And this comes up in a lot of conversations, actually, even in and just to remember, anything I say here, anything David says here is our own opinion and doesn't reflect the people we work for, people we work with, or anything along those lines.
Or
this is our own
future
opinions
companies.
that he
parallel
might
universes.
maybe work for.
Yes.
We'll have to talk to them about their decision-making points at that point in time.
Well, they hired you, didn't they?
Yeah, good point. so anyway,
Okay.
as we were wandering around, so yeah, they it does, and it comes up even as a part of the professional association I'm with, and other companies around the country that we talk to, is what should we actually do with this? Because it is something that people ask, and senior level risk folks would just as soon like to get rid of that risk. So we'll go back to, again, why are you training, and how are you ensuring that you're trying to make it effective?
Sure.
And that's really where this goes down to is there's a normal process when you implement security training like this. Initially, it generally gets started because you're just trying to meet some regulatory or contractual requirement. And so you're just literally clicking the box. I provided training.
Sure.
Here's 3 flyers that I put out on walls. Here's a little short video, maybe a couple of questions that you get asked, and now I can meet the requirement. I've trained people.
Sure.
And
It's
so
great. It's always great training.
yeah, and those are always wonderful training, especially when you get the same one year after year after year. Those are the best because you can actually just time your responses to go, okay, if I wait 30 seconds, I hit B. If I wait...
When to laugh.
yeah, pretty much. So it's those are, and there are a lot of good articles out there about, how to do security training to make it effective. So the first question you have to ask is, we've wandered around for about 5 minutes on, is why do you do security training? And it should be to reduce the risk of bad things happening through your staff. So, and it's not about playing gotcha. It's not about trying to say, these are the folks that have failed and trying to weed them out of the environment. The really question is, how do I train employees? Because they're valuable resources.
So it's to help them out, not to get rid of them.
Absolutely, because this is really the part of this. And it's valuable just not for the employees, or just not for the company, but who else gets value out of that if you do that training?
The employees, the person.
Yeah, the employee themselves, because are they subject to phishing at home?
So I was just going to bring up, I mean, if they're doing it at work,
Yeah.
they're also probably doing it at home. So not only are they hurting their environment at work, they're also hurting their environment at home, which could wrap around to them how they feel when they come to work. Now they've got a poor attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just about making the individual better in general.
Sure.
So let's use driving as an example.
Okay.
You have to go through driver's training. 'Cause it's kind of you drive right now for a lot of your job.
Yep.
So, but does that make you a better driver when you've got people in your car that are, you care about, your family members?
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So same thing.
Sure.
If you're making that person better, they're getting that, and that value is being provided in general all over the place.
Yeah.
So it's really about first and foremost, why do you train? What is the goal that you're trying to get out of that? Same thing would be true for any kind of security testing. Why do I do penetration testing?
Yeah. Why do you do any testing?
Right, because I want to make things better. It's not about just finding what's wrong. It's about how do I make things better. That's always the goal.
It's training and asking these questions is where to patch holes.
Right. I'm an auditor by trade. So I've spent decades asking embarrassing questions at various companies over the years. And it's not because I want to get people in trouble. And in all honesty, I don't want to do that. Although I have known people in the field to do that, but I'm not one of those. The idea is to make the environment better. It's not about playing gotcha. I have an audit finding. Same thing comes into training. How have I improved the environment? So based on that Krebs article, I then went into another article that went into training on security.
Okay.
And how to do that. Now this article.
So we're going to have both links down below from the Krebs on security and now
Forbes Human Resources Council, that's a Forbes article on 5 strategies to get employees buy-in for security awareness training.
Perfect. So let's talk about this one.
This one actually was very nice. It runs through, again, 5 strategies, hence that's what's in the title.
Sure. So first, let's name the 5 strategies.
Okay. Partner with security.
Number 1.
Partner with security.
Number 2.
Everyone is a target.
Okay. Number 3.
Avoid training fatigue.
Okay. Number 3.
Remember that employees are a stakeholder.
4. There we go. Doing this is always difficult. I was trying to do this. I can't control my... If you close your pinky, this ring finger always goes down too. Okay, so...
Valuable fact to know for your own time that you have to count to 5.
Yeah, exactly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
Is training should be top down as well as side to side.
Okay. We'll also have those linked, or not linked, but ordered down below.
And that'll be in the text below in that order. It's paraphrased a bit just because I wanted to make it short, and it fits on the whiteboard.
Exactly. So let's start off with number 1.
So you partner with security. If you're the HR team putting this together, and the article was written for HR professionals, just don't throw security training out there yourself. Maybe you want to talk to the experts.
But it's cheaper if we do it ourselves.
Yeah, well, it's probably not cheaper if you measure effectiveness.
Well,
again, why are we doing the training? Rolling back to this. So yes, you could do it yourself if you're HR, you plug in, if you have a small security department, you just do this and use them, and that's probably pretty cheap.
Yeah.
But the key is, don't do this all on your own and not tell the security people you're doing security training and testing, because they maybe can point you in the right areas.
Yep, exactly. Where to go, who to talk to.
Yeah, so it's kind of like going big game hunting.
What links to press?
Yes, okay. Don't press that link.
Right.
So, yes, don't shoot. Yeah, it's, these are the places to go big game hunting, and these are the places not to go big game hunting.
Exactly.
Yes, so, or let's go back to the conversation of fishing. So, don't go fishing in the Dead Sea.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, oh, God, that was a long way.
So we're having too much fun. I tried to. So before, just so you guys know, I told Al to think happy thoughts and think about laughter during today's video to kind of help him lighten the mood, and this is what we get.
Yeah. So yeah, that goes to my sense of humor. It's pretty dry, it's pretty dark, and it's pretty all over there.
So we're having fun today.
So all right.
Hope you are too.
I'll sleep well tonight. Okay. So the next thing is, so you partner with security. So they help you identify what are the targets.
Yep.
And I'm guessing there are people in security that have been through this before, so they know what's effective and what's not.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yep. So the next thing is, hey, let's remember everyone is a target.
So that's number 2.
Number 2 is everyone is a target. I don't want to just send my training out to my customer service reps or just to the hourly staff.
So everybody's a target.
Everybody is a target, and
including the CEO.
Including the CEO, yeah. And to be honest, they're higher targets because when they respond to an email or their account gets busted, they have a lot more authority.
They get more admin rights.
Well, not necessarily. God, I hope not.
I'm just joking. They have more authority.
Well, they might in some companies actually have more admin rights. That's scary. But they're, and if so, you should really talk to your security guys. But the reality is, executives in general are higher value targets because they can cause things to happen like, transferring millions of dollars. And we've had articles where we talked about that in prior videos. So yes, executives, anybody that can move money, anybody that can authorize purchases, these are all high value targets. So everyone can be a target.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, the ones that you think should be the least receptive to bad emails are probably the ones that are the highest target.
Yeah.
My experience, and I have very limited stats to support this, but my experience, though, that I've seen in the companies I've been with is executives and other very busy professionals, call them lawyers, whatever they might be,
okay,
tend to be more receptive to phishing attacks because they're busy. They just don't have a chance to look at things.
Yeah.
I mean, your average executive has hundreds of emails that are in his account every day, and so they get hit. And are more likely to respond.
Click here for the latest results.
Right, click here for the latest results. I mean, and they're easy targets to design to because you know what they're going to respond to. So everybody's a target. Everybody responds to a different kind of email.
Sure.
I would make a point that if I was designing an email for accountants or auditors or risk professionals that all have certifications, an email that says, click here for free continuing education training.
Oh, yeah.
Guaranteed.
The latest training.
Yeah, they're gonna hit that one just right there because we all have to get a ton of training every year, and it's expensive.
Great. Now everybody knows.
Okay, and so should the risk professionals. So they should know better. So
everybody's a target.
Yeah, everybody's a target.
So number 3.
Number 3 is avoid training fatigue.
Okay, so training fatigue, so working out too much?
Yeah, that's actually kind of the same thing. You know, you should work on your legs one day and your arms another day.
So work on phishing emails, working on clicking buttons, work on patching holes.
So let's ask you. You work in a large. Let's say you work in a large organization like I do.
Yep.
I have training that I have to take. All sorts of training that comes in. I've got security training, I've got ethics training, I've got training about things that occur in my industry, I have training of things that relate to management. You know, these are all kinds of required training events that I have to do. And if your training becomes that frequent, it loses effectiveness.
Sure.
So
so instead of once a week, we should do it once a month?
Well, I mean, and that might be the right answer. The question is, how do I do it in a way that's different enough? Because just like you avoid training fatigue, it's not that you shouldn't work out every day, not that either of us do. But yeah, those days are gone. They're, sorry, they're, I have friends.
What happens when we get out of the military?
Yeah.
we quit working out.
I am now going to get emails from people that I know on Facebook that we're in my unit. They're going to remind me that I'm supposed to be working out.
True.
So
you should remind them anyways.
So, it's going to be a long week. So as we're going through this, so training is something you want to vary the type of training that you're doing.
Yep.
So it's not always about how much you're doing, but it's varying the type of training.
Okay.
And it's a lot of those things that you could do. So for those of you that have been in the Army, I'll give you an example, and some of you may be able to relate to this. I was getting sent overseas, and we had to have, I think it was about 18 hours of required training. No, it was more like 22. 22 hours required training that we had to go through. So there were a lot of ways that we could do that training. We could do it over a few nights, like do it once a week over our train-up period for a couple of hours. We could do it every night, make it shorter. We chose to do it in probably the least effective way possible.
2 days.
2 days. So we showed up at 8 o'clock in the morning and started the PowerPoints. It was all PowerPoints too.
Even better.
So, 11 hours of PowerPoints both days.
That sounds real fun.
That was painful. I am a person that likes to learn. I'm engaged in this stuff.
So he was the only one up front awake.
Yeah, even I was dead in the world. So I do remember going, who the hell thought this was a good idea? So
Poor planning.
Poor planning. But and it wasn't terribly effective. But on the other hand, we met the requirement that every soldier that was going to get sent to Bosnia was trained.
So you guys run your unit like a small business. Just get it done.
Don't blame my unit on this one. This wasn't our fault.
Well, okay.
So, Eric, that's a good example of what not to do. There was long periods.
So what should you guys have done?
So what we probably should have done is looked at each of the things that we needed to train on, and those that we needed to train on PowerPoint recognized that putting soldiers that have just been through some physical training in front of a screen is not inducive to learning. So the key is then just make it fun. I mean, that's the absolute best way to include training is make it fun.
So Google Glasses and running. Doing a mile run.
Doing a mile run in Google Glasses.
And watching your PowerPoint.
And watching the PowerPoint. Okay.
Multitasking.
One, I'm not sure that I found running all that much fun, which is probably the reason I didn't get my last promotion. But two, there's some safety aspects that you got to think about.
Treadmills.
Treadmills, okay. All right.
So you go to the gym, they have treadmills with TVs.
Okay, so my next unit event, I want to send, I'm not in the Army anymore, fortunately, I'm going to put 15 people in Google Glasses on treadmills and play security testing in front of them and record what happens to them while they're on the treadmills.
That sounds like a fun video to make.
We should totally do that. No, we shouldn't. There's safety issues. Okay. I was the NCO, he wasn't.
There's a reason why.
So, Eric.
Anyway, so
avoid training fatigue. Vary the type of training. Make sure it is fun, it's engaging, and it is and it's not all done at once. You want to make sure there's some value to it. Switch it up, make sure it's engaged, and do it over time.
Perfect. So, number 4.
Number 4. Remember, employees are stakeholders in this process. This isn't just about...
I was going to say elaborate. So elaborate kind of that what it means.
Okay, so what is a stakeholder?
The whole tent.
No, that's not the guy that's going to go after the vampire.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a kind of stakeholder, I guess.
Oh, I was thinking the one that holds up a tent. That works too.
Yeah, okay.
The bucket that holds all the stakes.
Okay. Ow. Okay, and I was thinking there was a person that when David set up a tent was just going to hold the steak overnight. Or it's the guy that's eating the steak. But anyway, stakeholder.
Not a holder.
Okay. God, this is so bad today.
We're having fun. Well, why we should do a podcast.
Okay, so, or not. Stakeholders are those that are...
Yeah.
Let's try this again.
So stakeholders, the real answer is that they have... hold on. Stop. So a stakeholder is probably a board member?
Well, that would be one type of stakeholder.
Okay.
A stakeholder is, and you guys are probably going to send us all sorts of comments on this as you Google an answer, because I'm just going to make this up as I go. A stakeholder is somebody that has a stake in what's going on. So in that case, it would be somebody that is going to get value out of this. And so normally, and if you're doing training simply to say that I've met a regulatory requirement,
Yep.
the employee is not a stakeholder in that case.
True.
Because I could care less what's going on with the employee with that. I've just met my requirements. So it's management, it's the board of directors, it's my legal department. These are all stakeholders in my training program if that's the only reason I'm doing this.
By the way, Alexa, what is a stakeholder?
In a corporation, a stakeholder is a member of groups without whose support the organization would cease to exist, as defined in the first usage of the word in a 1963 internal memorandum at the Stanford Research Institute.
Okay, so that's what it really is.
Okay, now everybody knows the answer to that one. But so the key thing is to remember that employees are also going to get value out of this. Employees are targets as well, as we talked about previously. So any kind of training that you can do for them,
Yep.
they're going to get value out of that. And if they know that you're doing that training to help them as well, it's probably going to be more helpful to them. They're going to actually retain it and maybe respond to it.
And they feel much more about it if it's
Yeah.
make them feel better about it.
Right. So this is about any kind of activity. Engage whoever you're training to make them a part of this so that they know that it's important for them, not just as employees, but as individuals.
Sure.
'Cause
Exactly.
they probably do a lot of online banking. They have many of the same risk, if not all of the same risk, that a company has, and they've got to respond to that.
Yeah. So that helps them, and they should. Let them know that this isn't just about here at work. It's also your home life, your life on your phone.
Right. Yeah, because if you think about how many hours people are on screens, those are the time periods that they're at risk,
Exactly.
and they need to do that. So a lot of those things. A key part of that, when you're including your employees as a stakeholder, is that changes the way you visualize how you're going to give that training. Because if I remember that the employees are stakeholders, I may make the training more funny.
Sure.
Because as people are laughing, they're learning. The drier training is, the less they're going to learn from this. It's just a natural tendency of doing training.
Is this why back in the like all the training videos that you see on all this 80s and 70s
Yeah.
trainings were always like pow pow pow, this is funny, look
Yes.
at Jimmy.
Oh yeah, because that was lots of visuals. There are actually some good stats that if all you've done is read something to somebody, they retain maybe 30%, maybe 10% of that material.
Why was the kid was always named Jimmy?
It's a common name, probably because they were looking at ineffective training. We probably should have used David instead. So
Anyway, so step number 5.
So step number 5 is training should be top down as well as side to side. The training has to be coming from multiple directions. So it has to be driven from management
Okay.
to say this is why you need to do this.
But usually doesn't the training, should go up.
Okay, bottom up would mean the employees are driving the activity versus top down, which means management's driving the activity.
But management is great at driving activity, but not training properly.
This is part of the problem. So this is really what it's, so management has to be providing support to the training. So if you're going to provide training and management says, oh, by the way, I want you to take 20% of the cost out of your training budget next year, you're probably going to reduce the effectiveness of your training. Maybe not. So you have to engage. Management has to demonstrate that they're in support of the training. This is what we call top-down, tone at the top, tone in the middle. These are all very important concepts in any security conversation.
Definitely.
And this is just as much so in security awareness training or any kind of training, for whatever that's reason. Management has to demonstrate that that it's important, so people get engaged with that and take it seriously.
So side to side?
So side-to-side training is really all about employees are driving that training themselves and between their peers.
Sure.
So security isn't just about the company doing something. It's about your employees internalizing this and making it a part of the culture.
And making it helping out
Other people.
Sure.
So situation can come up where you're being directed to send a file to somebody, and it's got all sorts of confidential information in it. You should probably go, maybe not. So
Ask the person behind you.
Yeah.
should I click this?
Yes, or more, that would be phishing, but in this case, should I actually send this file that's got all the salary data on it?
Oh, yep, yep.
And I've seen that a lot over the years, and nowadays with payment cards, social security numbers, driver's licenses, phone numbers and zip codes being sensitive, you still see a lot of that stuff being passed around in a company, and you always want to you want to build the culture where people are asking, should I send this to somebody else, as opposed to just sending it off? What are my data classification standards? And if I do have to send it, because you may have to send it because it's going to have to go to the government or somebody like that, is there a secure method of me to send it?
What's the best way to send it?
What's the best way to send it?
So perfect. So with that, we're going to wrap up today's video.
Because it's taken way too long.
We're having too much fun. And this is a good topic. And again, click down below for the articles. Check them out. They're a good read. And if you have any questions,
I need to add one thing.
Okay.
So let me just add one thing, and then he'll yell at me later.
Okay.
But there are a lot of good sites for getting security training that's free. I will point you to SANS Securing the Human. They have some really good material on there. There are some others, but that's probably the best known to go to. We will be looking at some others going forward, but start with that one. Securing the Human is a great place to start thinking about how to build your own security training programs.
And don't just click, type in into your search bar training programs and then just start clicking, because you may find out that some of them are training, but not they're training for you.
Well, David and I kicked that around as we were looking for how do we search for these things. We looked at the Google, and he was going to press on it. It was like, so if I was designing a program to try to attack people looking for security, I can't think of a better way to say free security training.
Yeah, free security training. Click here.
So just remember, everyone is a target, and that includes you.
So with that, don't forget to like and subscribe, and then hit the bell notification to be notified when we put up our next video.
Thank you, folks. Take care.
Happy trails.